Well, hello. I didn't see you there. The adventure continues, my friends. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. We have done poorly so far. It's been fun, and I've been learning a lot, but we have not enjoyed success, and I fear it may continue. We have drafted a blue and white deck. Again, a combination I have not done so far. This was an interesting draft process because it started with a very clear focus on white cards. I took Cleric Class very early. This is an enchantment. It's one of the class cards, and it's very focused on life gain. I got some more white cards. Things were going well, and then I saw, after maybe like 4 picks, a blue pick, Eccentric Apprentice, a 3-mana flyer that ventures when it comes into play, and then if you've completed a dungeon, it starts turning other creatures into 1/1 birds, which you can use offensively or defensively. It's a very strong card. That continued for a bit. In Pack 2, the blue completely dried up, and all of a sudden, we see a lot of red cards. We see equipment. So we think maybe we pivot. Getting really mixed signals from the draft. And then, in Pack 3, we don't know what to do. We open a Mythic Planeswalker, Mordenkainen. So let me read what this does. Mordenkainen is 4 blue for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. It's a lot of loyalty. It has a +2. Draw 2 cards. Then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. So a really excellent brainstorm kind of effect. And that puts him up to 7 loyalty right off the gate. That's great. -2, create a blue dog illusion, where its power and toughness are equal to twice the number of cards in your hand. And that is not a legendary token. You can get multiples. The ultimate, not very important, but that's fine. -10, exchange your hand and library, and then you have no maximum hand size. Our deck is very medium, as all of our decks have been. We've got some life gain stuff, we have some venturing stuff, we have very average cards. That is why this deck is called Mordenkainen or Bust. We're trying to survive the game. We're trying to ramp with clever conjurers. We are trying to get to Mordenkainen. We are running 3, count them, 3 potions of healing. Both to synergize with our very light health gain theme, but really just to draw us to the mythic rare that will hopefully carry us to victory. There's only one way to find out what happens. Come along with me. We go first. We have 3 planes, a Steadfast Paladin, which is a 2/2 lifelink for 2, the Veteran Dungeoneer, a 4-mana Venturer, Planar Ally, a 5-mana 3/3 Flying Venturer, and a Clever Conjurer. I think this is okay. Certainly nothing exciting. Turn 2 Steadfast Paladin, 2/2 lifelinking Dwarf Knight. That's going to make me feel really good. We just drew Mordenkainen. We need 3 additional mana to play him, but we have our game plan. The opponent has gone Forest Swamp, and they played a Knoll Hunter. This is a 2/2 creature with pack tactics, so if you attack with it and enough creatures to have a total of 6 power or more, it gets a counter. That's good, that's fine. I think we're just going to attack. If they want to trade, they don't. So we hit for 2 and we gain 2. Life is good today, friends. We're going to throw out our Potion of Healing. And I think we'll probably go ahead and kick it on their turn. Use the potion, I mean. We don't have any life gain synergies on the battlefield. We don't have any in our hand. I think I want to do this just to preserve my mana. Use it as efficiently as possible. Enemy plays Shambling Ghast. That's a 1/1 zombie that dies into either -1/-1 for a creature or a treasure token. A great card. Enemy hits us for 2 with the Knoll. So we're at 20, they're at 18. And then they pass. We're going to go ahead and use that Potion of Healing. 3 life for us. We're just trying to live until we can cast Mordenkainen. It's my turn. We drew another island. We are well on our way to casting Mordenkainen. I am interested and playing a Clever Conjurer. Because that means we can, on turn 5, we can cast Mordenkainen. We're just going to pass. So the Clever Conjurer has Mage Hand. It's a 2/3 creature. It taps to untap another permanent, which means you can use it to untap a land. So depending what our opponent has going on here, we're looking at a turn 5 Mordenkainen. And at that point, I think it'll be relatively trivial to win the game. Opponent plays a Dire Wolf Prowler. 3 mana 2/2. You can pay 2 to give it +2/+2. Only once per turn. They're tapped out. Oh, they have 1 black mana. We're still going to go for it. We have Mordenkainen in play. So we're just going to make a dog. A 6/6 dog. Now our opponent has no good attacks. They can potentially get in for 1 damage. I'm not saying there's no way for them to come out on top here. Our Mordenkainen's on 3. We have a 6/6 dog and a 2/2 lifelink. They have 3 creatures. So 1 could get through. The Shambling Ghast, a 1/1 could get through. And then they could very easily... No. They could very easily pump the Ghast. They did not. They did none of that. This pleases the court. Now what do we do? We draw some cards. We drew 2 cards and we put 1 on bottom. Go ahead and ditch this card. So now our dog is an 8/8. The trick though, of course, is that we also want to play cards, don't we? I think we play a Planar Ally. Or do we put a... Oh, it's tricky, isn't it? I think we'll put a Planar Ally into play. Now we pass. Our opponent is under a lot of pressure already. We're just going to keep using Mordenkainen in this game. They're putting in 2/2 creatures, one after another. And we're fine with that. We really are just chilling. Opponent goes Sheshra, Death's Whisper. They're forcing us to block with our Steadfast Paladin, our 2/2 lifelinker, against the Shambling Ghast. The Ghast dies. It's going to kill our Paladin, I suppose. That triggers our opponent's Sheshra. God, that's hard to say. So they lose 2 life and drew a card. Fine. At this point, we have an 8/8 creature in play. It's time to use it. We're attacking with our 8/8 dog. So they are triple blocking. That's fine by us. We're going to go ahead and Divine Smite one of the blockers. So that's a good trade for us. I think we're going to draw some more cards with Mordenkainen. Put a card on the bottom. We have no more need for land, so we'll ditch a land. We have 4 mana left. We'll play a Veteran Dungeoneer. You know it, you love it. The Lost Mine of Phandelver. We scry 1. Get your dungeon tickets, Phandelver. Opponent is deep in the tank. They play a Horde Robber, a 1/3. If it can do damage to us, they get a treasure. I don't see that ever happening. But I've been wrong before. Haven't I? At this point, I think we keep lands in our hand just to make our dogs bigger. And speaking of dogs, we're going to make one. Not just yet. We're going to start by attacking with our Planar Ally. We need to start trying to kill our opponent. So they used Choose Your Weapon to do 5 damage to my creature. Sure. We do get to venture further into the dungeon, though. We're going to make a goblin. Amber would be proud. Now what, though? Now I think we make a dog. An 8/8 dog. That's so unnecessary, though. Let's get an eccentric apprentice into play. This is our 2/2 Enter the Battlefield adventure. We are very close to completing this dungeon. Put a counter on a creature. Yes. We're going to put a counter on our eccentric apprentice, a 3/3 flyer. Wonderful. Our opponent is on 2 cards. They have played yet another Direwolf Prowler. They are on the Mono Wolf plan. And they pass. This is going wonderful. This deck has done everything I dreamt it would, which is cast Mordenkainen. They have the ability to double pump their wolves. And if they want to do that, honestly, and trade 2 for 1 against my token, I will happily let them. Yes, they're in chump territory. They're blocking with their Horde Robber. I should have attacked with my apprentice as well. Oops-a-doodle. Do we draw more cards at this point? Do we make another token? Everything is so deadly. We're going to make a dog. This is absurd. We have 2 8/8 dogs, a 3/3 flyer, a 1/1, a 3/4, and a 2/3 that can untap one of our tokens. Our opponent plays another Direwolf Prowler. So they have played a full playset, 4 Direwolf Prowlers in this game. Incredible. It's a good card. I don't want to act like this card isn't good. Our opponent is attacking us. They have no cards in hand either. So our opponent is basically conceding the game at this point. We're going to eat one of the Direwolf Prowlers for free. We take 5 damage going to 20. That does let them draw a card, and I suppose they're desperate to draw cards. This is not a winning proposition for the opponent. Let's attack with our 2 10/10 dogs and our 3/3 flyer. This is incredible. They let it through and they die. Mordenkainen or bust? For now, we Mordenkainen. Let's see what game 2 brings. Game 2. Wow, even better. We have Mordenkainen in our opening hand. In addition, we have a Potion of Healing, a Celestial Unicorn, and a Planar Ally. This is what we always wanted. We start the game with an island. The opponent plays a Vorpal Sword turn 1. So they come out with a pretty powerful play of their own. We drew a Divine Smite. We could destroy that if we wanted to. We're just going to Potion of Healing. We drew a second Celestial Unicorn, which could be quite good. They played a Keen-Eared Sentry, a 2/1 that gives them hexproof. We don't care about that. And each opponent can't venture more than once. Well, the joke's on you, because that was never going to happen. We're going to play a Celestial Unicorn. If we draw a land next turn, we can play our second Celestial Unicorn, a 3/2 for 3, that whenever we gain life, we put a counter on it. If we draw a land, it has to be a Plains, I suppose. If we drew a Plains, that would be perfect. We could play a second Celestial Unicorn, pop the Potion of Healing, and we'd have 2 4/3s in play. Our opponent is equipping the Keen-Eared Sentry. They're going to hit us for 4. Okay, we did not draw the Plains. That's troublesome, but honestly, I'm not going to worry about it too much. Just go ahead and attack. And we'll play a second Celestial Unicorn. Having 2 4/3s is still going to be good. We have 16 life, they have 17. So opponent's on black-white. They play Veteran Dungeoneer, so that's going to stop our beatdown for sure. Get Get your movie tickets, Fandelver. Do I just block? Do I just trade? Yes, I do. Do you know why? We're just trying to live until we cast Mordenkainen. We draw an island. We're one step closer to the edge. And I'm about to break. You know what I'm talking about. The question is, what do we do this turn? I reckon we offer the trade. We attack with our unicorn. If they choose to block with their only remaining creature, Veteran Dungeoneer, then we sacrifice the Potion of Healing. They chose not to. Very wise. We might as well go ahead and cast it, though. Activate the ability. Put a counter on the unicorn. They're at 13. We're doing a fair imitation of a beatdown deck here. Now what, though? We have 3 mana available, and we have a Ray of Frost in our hand. Do we conserve our mana? We really don't care about our opponent hitting us for 5. It's not that big of a deal. We can always Ray of Frost them on our next turn. So they're spending 2 mana, and probably their turn, to equip the Veteran Dungeoneer. They hit us for 5, we're at 14, they're at 13. Okay, they do have another play, and a good one. Priest of Ancient Lore. I have yet to cast this spell. I'm very jealous. It's a 3 mana 2/1. When it comes into play, you gain a life, draw a card. Can you imagine? My turn. Now, we get punished for our Potion of Healing last time because we just drew Cleric Glass. That's fine. We're just going to go ahead and attack with our unicorn. You know, it's funny. I played Vorpal Sword my last draft. I was very not aware. I knew it gave Death Touch, and I thought it gave +1/+0. The fact that it gives +2/+0 is quite strong. Quite strong indeed. Alright, we're going to Ray of Frost the Dungeoneer. Now on our turn, or sorry, on their turn rather, they'll probably use the mana to move the Vorpal Sword over to the Priest, at which point we can smite the Vorpal Sword and waste their entire turn. Or a good portion of it, at any rate. I don't know why. This is one of my favorite parts about the game, is anticipating what your opponent is going to do and using up their mana. However, they are paying 3 mana for a Minimus Containment. They are turning my Celestial Unicorn into a treasure token. Little do they know, if we draw a land next turn, we're just going to play Mordenkainen with their treasure. Okay, so they do go for the equip. I suppose it doesn't really matter when I play this, so I'm just going to play it now. Oh, you've probably been laughing at me this whole time. If indeed you're listening. Because Divine Smite only hits creatures or planeswalkers. I kept reading, if that permanent is black, exile it instead. You know what? We're still going to phase out the Priest and just waste their turn. So unfortunately, we did not draw a land. It would have been great to play Mordenkainen this turn. So instead, we will play the Cleric class and a Clever Conjurer. A lot of consonants in that collusion of counterplay. As expected, they go ahead and equip the Priest. It is now a 4/1 creature. They cast Precipitous Drop, an enchantment that's going to give our Clever Conjurer -2/-2. Luckily, we don't care about that, do we? We drew a land. We now have the ability to cast Mordenkainen, which we will do. We create a dog token. It is a 4/4 currently. We end our turn. Our opponent can go for the attack, and we'll just happily trade our token. Ooh, crucially, however, they have Grim Bounty. They kill our dog token, and they attack Mordenkainen. We still have a Clever Conjurer, though. It's an 0/1, but a perfectly good chump blocker. This is Mordenkainen or bust. We will sacrifice absolutely everything to save Mordenkainen. To that end, we're going to draw a card. 2 cards, in fact, and put one on the bottom with Mordenkainen. And what do we want to get rid of? We need this land. I reckon we get rid of, as odd as it sounds, Planar Ally. And now we put a card we just drew, another Steadfast Paladin, 2/2 lifelink. This will be an excellent removal spell. Our opponent, it should be noted, has enough mana to activate Vorpal Sword's other ability, i.e., if their creature hits us, we just lose the game. So our opponent might be thinking something like, oh wow, all I have to do is remove their piddly creature, and then I can win the game. They have no idea we have a Divine Smite in hand, and can just phase out their play. They cast Eyes of the Beholder, a 6 mana, count it 6 mana spell to kill our 2-drop. That is not good value. So now they're going to go attack Mordenkainen, as expected. We could let Mordenkainen go to 1. I honestly am not that upset about letting that happen. We draw a land, which is fine. We +2 Mordenkainen. 2 more cards in hand. We're going to ditch a land card. Now we have 6 left. Now this is troublesome, because we have Air Cult Elemental, a 2/5 flying. When it comes into play, we could bounce a creature to their hand. And of course, their only creature that we would want to bounce is their Priest of Ancient Lore, but then they could play it again and gain extra life and draw a card. So it buys us some time, but it buys them a card. Instead, let's just go Veteran Dungeoneer. A simple 3/4 that lets us venture into, you guessed it, the Lost Mine of Phandelver. It's time to get our dungeon tickets. We end the turn. They have only 1 card in hand, the card they drew this turn. They go to attack Mordenkainen. We naturally will block. They could easily have a trick here, but we don't mind. Nope, they have nothing. The creatures trade. That's excellent for us, and they pass the turn. That, I think, was the death knell for them. The time has come. Let's make a dog with Mordenkainen, and we'll also go ahead and cast a Rime Shield Frost Giant. This is a 4/5 creature with Ward 3. Just a big dork that's hard to get rid of. Opponent surrenders. Victory. 2 for 2 on Mordenkainen's. I need to revel in this. I frequently complain internally that I don't open great rares and never a good mythic rare. Mordenkainen was advertised to me by Limited Resources as an A+, and who are we to disagree? Let us give thanks. Let's give thanks for the good cards that we open. Thanks for coming along on this journey with me. Appreciate you, wherever you are. Opponent goes first, and we don't have Mordenkainen in hand. No matter, we've got fine cards. We have a Clever Conjurer that will ramp us into Mordenkainen if we should ever draw him. We have a Celestial Unicorn and a Planar Ally to hopefully keep things on an even keel. And we even have a pseudo removal spell, a Shocking Grasp. Shocking Grasp is 2 mana for an instant. A creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn, and you draw a card. It's a whatever card, extremely whatever. But the fact that it says draw a card, I don't even see that text. I see you are 1 card closer to drawing Mordenkainen. Probably the bottom card of my library this game. Opponent went Swamp turn 1. We went Island. They play Island. Wow, so spicy. We'll play another Island. They don't know what we're doing. We could be mono blue for all they know. Opponent goes Yuan-Ti Fangblade. 2/2 Death Touch. When it deals damage to me, they venture. Man, what a great card. Cards with Death Touch, not to be undervalued or underappreciated. So what do we do about that? I reckon we just play Celestial Unicorn, a 3/2. And if they want to trade, remember, this deck wants to trade. We want to stall. We want Mordenkainen more than anything. More than anything. Ooh. Our opponent put Fly on Yuan Ti Fangblade. If you don't know what that does, it is a 1 mana enchantment that gives it flying, and when it does damage to me, they venture. They are on a very high risk, high reward play. They just ventured twice into the dungeon. But if I have a spell that can remove this, if I draw a Divine Smite, the game is basically over for them. As expected, they go to the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. That's the big, long dungeon with a huge payoff. But when you're venturing twice per turn, that doesn't seem that hard. We really want to draw Divine Smite. Opponent then plays Wizard class. Our opponent's deck looks very good from the limited amount that we've seen so far. Now, we're just going to go ahead and attack with our Unicorn because it's not doing anything else. It's 18-18, but they are quite far ahead of us. What we're going to do this turn, they're going to go to attack us with the Yuan Ti, and we are going to Shocking Grasp it so we don't take damage and they don't get any value. And as stated before, we are 1 card closer. Ooh, and you know what we drew? We drew Divine Smite. That is going to go a very long way to us winning the game. Okay, they play a Shortcut Seeker. 2/5, when it does damage to a player, they venture. They have an excellent deck. We are going to Divine Smite this Yuan Ti Fangblade. So we just 2-for-1 them. Very good. So, now what? I'll tell you what now. They have a 2/5 in play. We are going to cast Clever Conjurer for 3 mana. Again, we're a step closer. We have the mana now to cast Mordenkainen. Unfortunately, we don't have Mordenkainen. You won't be surprised to learn that the deck I called Mordenkainen or Bust isn't great unless we draw Mordenkainen. So they upgrade their Wizard class. They're going to draw 2 cards. That helps them out a lot. That will help them recover from their 2-for-1 that I just subjected them to. They cast Fly on Shortcut Seeker. This is beautiful because... Oh, never mind. No, it is fine. It is fine. We're going to resolve that. That's fine. Man, their deck is so all in on Venture. And I am just teaching them with my You Hear Something on Watch, which will do 5 damage to it and 2-for-1 them yet again. I am teaching them lessons, valuable lessons about why that card is not very good. We'll attack them with our Unicorn and our Conjurer. They're at 13, we're at 18, and then we're going to play Planar Ally. Depending on what they have in the tank, they are not in a good way right now. Down on life, down 3 creatures. Okay, that helps them. They play Precipitous Drop, kills our Unicorn, and they venture again. Luckily, our killing of their venture creatures has helped. They are not even halfway through the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Then they played Ray of Enfeeblement, so they killed our Planar Ally. Opponent is battling back. They're on 1 card now, though. Oh no, that was bad. I just clicked through my turn. That's unfortunate. They play a Pixie Guide, 1/3 flyer. If you roll 1 or more dice, you roll an extra dice and you ignore the low roll. Whatever. We're going to play Potion of Healing. Draws us a card. And we're going to go ahead and play the Steadfast Paladin. I really want to keep lands in hand in the off chance that on the off chance we draw Mordenkainen, the more cards in hand I have, the better. Opponent played Bar the Gate, countered my creature spell, and they venture into the dungeon. As I said, I want to give some props to my opponent here. They really do have an excellent version of this deck. They have not played a single bad card. Well, I take that back. The Pixie Guide doesn't really make sense in their deck. It's basically a 1/3 flyer. But it might get the job done. Our opponent is max leveling Wizard class. So now this 1/3 flyer is going to be getting +1/+1 every single turn. We've drawn lands the past 3 turns. You know what card we're hoping for on top. Say it with me, everybody. Heart of the Cards. Opponent is now tapped out, and they have played out their hand. They played a Horde Robber, 1/3 when it does damage to me. They make a treasure. Not very good. Soul Knife Spy, quite good. 3/2 when it does damage to me, draw a card. Their deck is so focused. Except for the Pixie Guide. As we know. Alright, they're hitting us for 2. We're at 16, they're at 13. We need a good draw. Okay, that goes a long way actually. We draw Wizard class of our own. So we'll play it. We'll level it up to 2. We draw 2 cards. We have not drawn Mordenkainen. We drew another land and a Cloister Gargoyle. I think on their turn, I'm going to go ahead and pass to them. I'm going to pop this Potion of Healing. So they put another counter on their Soul Knife Spies, which is now a 4/3. Very scary. They have played a Displacer Beast. We really have flooded out here. We have 11 lands that we have drawn this game. Our opponent has 6. Very unfortunate. So our opponent is venturing. They are only 2 steps away from finishing the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, in which case, that's disaster for us. Now they're exiling the top 2 cards of their library and can play them this turn. Let's see what they can do here. A Fangblade? No, a Pixie Guide. Another Pixie Guide. I wonder if they have a light die roll theme in their deck. We haven't seen anything yet. Opponent is going to go to attack. This is very bad news for us. We're just going to let it hit. We'll gain our life with our potion. Oof. They get treasure, they get a card, they get another +1/+1 counter. We draw a card that is not going to help us here. The Trickster's Talisman. It's an equipment. Not very impressive on our clever Conjurer. Whew. I'm going to keep playing. We'll level up our own Wizard class, but I just don't see any of this mattering. Opponent's going to attack us for a lot of damage and a lot of value. We'll block their Spy because we don't want them drawing a card, getting another counter. And we are going to take so much damage. We are at 3. We should basically concede. Even if we drew Mordenkainen right now, that would not be enough to win this game. But just out of curiosity. Opponent plays another Displacer Beast. They have officially played another not so great card. They played Silver Raven, 1/1 flyer, scry 1. Not that good. They have 2 Pixie Guys and a Silver Raven. Every other card they have played has been excellent. We drew a Plains. As I said, even if we drew a bomb, that game was basically over. So, we concede. What a fantastic deck our opponent had. Whew. Good for them. That makes me 2-1. Join me for game 4 after the break.
Ready for a rules-light, narrative-failing forward collaborative storytelling tabletop role-playing game?
Unsure of where to start?
Powered by the Players is an actual play podcast featuring mini campaigns and one-shots of all your favorite Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Each campaign or one-shot will be a different PBTA game with a rotating cast of diverse players. We've got Masks, a teenage superhero drama.
Bluebeard's Bride, a feminist horror retelling.
Monster of the Week, a supernatural mystery.
Escape from Dino Island, a Jurassic Park-inspired adventure.
Crossroads Carnival, a Depression-era sideshow noir.
The next game we play could be yours, so join Morgan, Kristen, and Diana.
And let's power up.
Follow us on Twitter at PBT Players.
Subscribe on your favorite podcatcher.
Welcome back. Did you miss me? We're still playing Mordenkainen or Bust. It is game 4. We're 2 wins and 1 loss. And as advertised at the beginning of the show, we have won every game where we have drawn Mordenkainen. We have lost the one game where we did not. Cross your fingers for me. Say a prayer. Send good vibes. Opening hand does not have Mordenkainen, but we have a Potion of Healing to buy some time, a Ray of Frost to buy some time, an Eccentric Apprentice that is good, and a Frost Giant. This looks perfectly fine. Really can't complain about that hand. Opponent mulligans. Not advisable if you can avoid it. It's a hot little tip. Ooh, a great draw. Our opponent played a Forest. We drew into a Steadfast Paladin. 2/2 lifelink for 2. Wonderful. We would have been happy to play a Potion of Healing, but we don't need to. Opponent goes Knoll Hunter. They're still on mono green. As usual, we will be very happy to offer a trade. All we do is trade. All we want to do is to trade. They don't take the trade. That's fine. We're at 22 and they're at 18. We'll play a land, and we'll play an Eccentric Apprentice. 2/2 flyer. We venture into the dungeon. Do you have your dungeon tickets? This is tricky. We scryed 1 with the Lost Mine of Phandelver, and we see you hear something on watch, which could let us kill an attacking creature. But this is not a land, nor is it a way for us to get to Mordenkainen, so I think it has to go to the bottom. I'm not kidding around, friend. We need Mordenkainen. Opponent played a Forest and nothing else. Suggests to me that they might have some combat trick for us. But they would have just attacked into us, surely. We're not beat down, so we're just going to attack with our Apprentice. Alright, they seem to be F6'd, which is code word, for those of you not hip enough to know. That's code word for they are skipping through their turn. They have nothing to do. I wonder if they're just missing a color. Well, at any rate, we should proceed now as if they don't have access to combat tricks. We played a Potion of Healing and a Cleric class. They get their other color. They are green-blue. I must say, green-blue has been quite attractive as a color combo. Wow. And just as I say that, they play a rare. Volo, Guide to Monsters, a 3/2. When you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. Wow. That's obviously very, very good. We're going to go ahead and activate our Potion of Healing. It's now 26 to 16, but our opponent almost certainly on their next turn, they're going to double whatever creature they play next. We're going to attack. We need to attack so bad. They're down to 12, but basically if they cast a spell this turn, a creature that copies off of Volo, the game's basically over. They do it. They cast Inspiring Bard, and they get 2 copies of it. This is a 3/3. When it comes into play, a creature you control gets +2/+2, or you gain 3 life. So they get 2 3/3s and any combination of 3 life and +2/+2 that they want. Wow. And they are just hovering all over the place with cards that they want to give +2/+2 to. So they gave Null Hunter and Volo +2/+2. Our opponent is basically on the same plan we are. Cast our rare or die. They're attacking with 2 5/5s. We're at 29, so I think we're just going to take 10 damage. Wow. And then post-combat, they play a rather bad card, Neverwinter Dryad, a 1/1. You can pay mana to sacrifice to get a forest. But getting 2 of them is certainly better. What do we do? We're stuck on lands. That's the other problem. And of course, you already know the biggest problem. We have not drawn Mordenkainen. We're going to attack them for 2 in the air. They're at 10, we're at 19. But things are looking incredibly dire. We're going to play a Clever Conjurer. Because we need extra mana, and it lets us untap lands. But after they played Volo, they have far more creatures than we do. Huh. They're attacking with a lot of creatures, including Volo. We have to try to trade for Volo. And we should try to trade with one of their bards as well. If our opponent has a combat trick, we just can't afford to play around it. We basically just have to pray they don't have a combat trick. It kind of looks like they have a combat trick. They have Spoils the Hunt, so they just murder our creature that was blocking Volo. We go to 12, and our opponent now has 3 times as many creatures as us. We draw an island. I suppose that's not bad, really. We can Ray of Frost the Null Hunter, which is now a 4/4, thanks to Pack Tactics. So it doesn't untap. Things still look very bad for us. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm attacking with my Apprentice. There is some hypothetical world where we chip them down. We're at 12, they're at 8. Sure, they have way more creatures than us. Our opponent is sacrificing their Neverwinter Dryad to get a forest, which I would guess means they have a big play coming up. I don't know why you would give up a creature at this point in the game. So presumably they're about to drop a 6 or 7 drop on us, which is not ideal. It's not my favorite thing to hear. They haven't played anything yet. They're going to attack. We have a Shocking Grasp in hand, which is interesting. They skipped their attack phase. We only have a 2/3 in hand. Now, things are not good for us. Don't get the wrong idea. Our opponent casts Owlbear, which means they actually get 2 Owlbears. So they just played 2 4/4 creatures that drew them a card. So +2 cards, +2 4/4 Tramplers. I don't have to tell you that the game is all but over. It's all over except for the crying. And to just put the punctuation mark on the game, they have Plummet in their main board to kill my Eccentric Apprentice. This is a Plummet in best of 1. I honestly don't think that's the worst call to put in a deck. Who has a deck without flyers? Well, except our opponent, of course. Our opponent's at 6. Oh, never mind, of course. Our opponent blocks. They remain at 8. They're double blocking our creature. Very good. We're just going to concede. This is insurmountable. Completely insurmountable. Wow. Can't really complain, can we? Our opponent completely ranched us with their rare. But is that not what we were trying to do? Here's the difference, though. I think their deck might have beat us fair and square. They did play Neverwinter Dryad. We'll see. We'll see. Well, we're 2-2. We are one loss away from being out of the running. Maybe we should change our game plan. Just kidding. As you know, as I know, as we all know, it is Mordenkainen or bust. Boy, this potential hand really puts that to the test, though. Very low curve. Divine Smite, Potion of Healing, Steadfast Paladin, Unicorn, Eccentric Apprentice. If ever there was a hand without Mordenkainen that could win, wow. Are we about to, after I just said that we are Mordenkainen or bust, are we not? We play Steadfast Paladin. Let it be known, we are on 2 lands. We luckily drew a 3rd land. My god. Our opponent played a Brazen Dwarf, a 1/3 that when you roll a dice, it does a damage to your opponent. Quite a bad card, in my opinion. And they're in big trouble, because I'm going to place into play a Celestial Unicorn. 2/3, when I gain a life, I draw a card. And I'm attacking into their 1/3 with my 2/2 lifelinker. They block it, so they prevent damage, but now I have a 4/3 Unicorn. Life just got extremely difficult for them. They play an island. Obviously, they're going very hard on die rolls. Let's see what they can do. I go to attacks. Attacking with both my creatures. They haven't played anything else. They block the 2/2 again. They're at 16. My Unicorn is now a 5/4. They are in an absolute world of hurt. I'm going for an Eccentric Apprentice. It works. 2/2 flyer. I venture into the dungeon. I give you one guess which dungeon I'm going for. Who has their movie tickets? Which is good. We scry 1 when we go to the mine of Phandelver. Oh my. So our opponent has cast Ray of Frost on our Celestial Unicorn, which they absolutely needed to do. And then they played a rare, of course. Delineate Wild Mage, a 3/2. When it attacks, you choose a creature you control and roll a d20. And of course, they'll roll 2. No, they will do a damage to us, excuse me, when they roll the d20. 1 to 14, they get a copy of it that only lasts a turn. On a 15 to 20, they get 2 copies. And then they roll again. It's pretty scary. Pretty scary, not gonna lie. Oh, man. Difficult. Well, we're going to go ahead and attack with our Apprentice. Keep the beatdown going. We're going to play Wizard class. And I reckon we're just going to upgrade it to level 2. We just need some cards. We need some more options. Our opponent has cast Swarming Goblin. They attacked with Delina, which gives them a copy of the goblins. We took some damage, but at this point, we're just blocking Delina with our Steadfast Paladin. We just can't afford to let this creature sit out there for any more time. Absolutely absurd. Well, things have gotten dicey in a big hurry. They have 4 goblins and a 4/3 swarming goblin. So, I wonder what we should do now. My hunch is we let them attack us, and we use You Hear Something on Watch to kill their attacker. It looks very suspicious right now. Wild. I am in awe, truly, of how bad I am at this format. They attack as we predicted with just swarming goblins. We're going to try to set off some traps on it. It works. It works amazingly. And then immediately our opponent plays the Deck of Many Things, a legendary mythic rare artifact. You pay 2 and tap it to roll a d20, and subtract from that result the number of cards in hand. If you get a 0 or less, you discard your hand. If you get a 1 to 9, you get a card at random from your graveyard. If you get a 10 to 19, you draw 2 cards. Wonderful. If you get a 20, you get a creature card from any graveyard onto the battlefield. And when it dies, its owner loses the game. Yikes. I don't need to tell you that things are bad, right? You understand that. You get that. Hit my opponent for 2. We need to try to get them down to nothing as quickly as possible. Our opponent is going to be drawing 1 to 2 cards every turn from now on. It is bad. It is quite bad. We need to draw cards. Wizard class, help us, please. We need you now, more than ever. Mordenkainen. We're going to play a Potion of Healing as well. Because again, we need cards. We need them bad. As predicted, our opponent... Oh my... Our opponent activated the deck of many things and rolled a 1, so they discarded their hand. I cannot emphasize, I've mentioned it before on previous episodes of this series, I have seen so many 1s and 20s on die rolls. It cannot be allowed or accepted. We have 13 life, they have 10 after my attack with an eccentric apprentice. I'm going to go ahead and play a clever conjurer, which is interesting. Because now, next turn, I can untap my Celestial Unicorn. Bear in mind, it has a Ray of Frost, so it's tapped. But at present, it is a 6/5. It is quite large and quite in charge. If we can get to a few more turns, we are going to be looking in fantastic shape. Meanwhile, though, our opponent still has the deck of many things, which they activate, and they get a card at random from their graveyard. Luckily, it's a Brazen Dwarf. That's not a good card. Now, it is our turn. We're going to untap our Celestial Unicorn and attack with it. It is a 6/5 at present. You have 2 Potions of Healing waiting to be triggered as well. They have mini goblins, though. We have a lot of goblins to get through. We just killed 1. I suppose I could do some Divine Smiting. That really doesn't sound good, though. I have to be totally straightforward with you. So instead, we're going to upgrade Wizard class to level 3. Now when we draw a card, we get 1/1 counters for our creatures. Opponent plays Pixie Guide. This is the first deck I've seen where Pixie Guide seems like a good call. It's a 1/3 that gives them double die rolls and they keep the better one. With the deck of many things, they are just going to go insane. They roll a 3 and a 4. Again, not very good. But even so, they get Swarming Goblins back to their hand. I mean, this is a huge problem for us. And they can untap the deck of many things with their Clever Conjurer. The decks that I am seeing are beyond out of control. So they cast Swarming Goblin. They get 2 more tokens. It's really, really crazy. The last 2 decks I have gone up against, and I have faced some good decks in this format. These are even better than anything I've faced before. What we really need, what we truly need, is Mordenkainen. No. So just to recap, the board is pretty crazy right now. I have 13 life, they have 10. I have my 7/6 unicorn that I have to spin my Clever Conjurer to untap, and a 3/3 flyer in my Eccentric Apprentice. In the Wizard class, they have 5 goblins, a Brazen Dwarf, a Clever Conjurer, a Pixie Guide, and Swarming Goblins. So what do? We just do what we can. We attack with our flyer. There's no other choice. Truly. Which is awful. This is going to take 3 turns to kill them. We don't have 3 turns. We do not have 3 turns. I think what we're going to have to do on their turn, they'll probably attack us, maybe with an Alpha Strike. We have 2 Divine Smites in hand. I think we just pass to them and we Divine Smite their big attackers. Just to buy us some time. Opponent activates the deck of many things, and they draw 2 cards. We take a damage from the Brazen Dwarf. This is so difficult. They could even... I wonder if they even realize that they can activate the deck of many things more than once with their clever conjurer. Not that they need to. They are going for the Alpha Strike. Okay. Depending what they have here in hand. So they're attacking us for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus another 4, 11 damage. We're going to go ahead and Divine Smite the goblins. They don't exist for the time being. We go to block. And go to 4. Well, what do they have in hand? They've got lots of mana. They could definitely still get us at this point. We'll see. I'm untapping my unicorn. I am Divine Smiting the Pixie Guide, the only remaining blocker. They are F6'd, it looks like. I attack with my 2 people. They're dead. Wow. Yet again, winning a game against a far, far superior deck. That was such a high degree of polish on that red-blue rolling dice deck. My goodness. Good for us for seeing the line to get out of that game, but Lord. The amount of stuff they had in play, the amount of dice they rolled, the amount of cards that they drew, truly incredible. Props to opponent, my goodness. You lost to a worse man today, easily. Well, 3-2. On we go. All right. Playing for our lives, playing to stay in the game here. Remember Mordenkainen? Remember when we used to draw him occasionally? Those days are behind us now. Now we draw double island, double white spell hands. I don't think we can keep. We have to mulligan that. This looks more reasonable, potentially. We have a blue and a white. We've got a unicorn, a gargoyle, a dungeoneer, a planar ally, and a Rhyme Shield Frost Giant. I'm going to keep that. And I think we're going to ditch the planar ally. I just think a 4-5 with Ward 3 is just so hard for so many decks to deal with. So let's put that to the test, shall we? We're going to play a Plains to start off. Opponent goes Forest Pass. We drew Mordenkainen. We did it. We did it, lads. Lads, lasses, my NB friends. We are in there. The trick, however, is that we now need to rattle off 4 straight lands. We did not do. We drew a Cleric class, which we're playing. Our opponent played Druid class. So we played very similar spells, but theirs is actually good. That's the issue. They passed. We drew a Steadfast Paladin, a 2/2 lifelink. It's not a land, but we can play it. Oh! And our opponent instantly concedes. Well, thank God for that. Little did they know. They probably had a perfectly reasonable chance against us. They had no idea. They must have been just stuck on lands like we are. God bless, I suppose, but... Wow, you know what? We drew the Mordenkainen and we won. Onward. We take those. Absolutely. 4 wins and 2 losses. It's do or die. I'm already pleased with this result. We've not quite, but essentially paid for this draft. Well, it would only be appropriate in this do or die moment. I would have Mordenkainen in my opening hand. This is a fantastic hand. 3 lands, 4 non-lands, a Steadfast Paladin to start things off. You hear something on watch so that we can remove a creature. Clever Conjurer to ramp us into Mordenkainen. I mean, I could not ask for more. Except for maybe a Potion of Healing, which we drew. Our opponent went Swamp turn 1. We followed up with an Island. opponent goes island, and they play a great spell. Cridle of Baldur's Gate, 1/3. When it does combat damage to a player, they lose a life, mill a card, and then my opponent gains a life and scries 1. Incredible. When they attack, they can pay 2, and then a creature I have can't be blocked. You know what? We're going to play a Plains. They can attack us if they want, and we are going to remove that creature. Maybe I should have played my Paladin. Just made them waste their turn. Yeah. They paid 2 mana to make it unblockable. Well, they wasted their turn anyway. You hear something on watch, we kill it. And they play 50 Feet of Rope, an artifact. Basically, when it comes right down to it, it comes down to pay 3 mana, a tap creature doesn't untap. I rated this quite high in our Filthy Casual review. Go check that out on Red Mage Blue Mage. I don't think it's as good as I thought it was. Opponent has 4 mana. Are they going to use the 50 Feet of Rope to repel down? No. Once again, we go against the rare artifact, Eye of Vecna. And they followed up with the mythic uncommon wizard class. Wow. Opponent is popping off right now. Well, what do? I think we double Potion of Healing and draw some cards. Great. Now, we drew a land, and we have the Clever Conjurer. If all goes according to plan, we will be casting Mordenkainen next turn. It really does depend on what our opponent does. And what our opponent does is they draw some cards. That's great. They have nothing to pressure us right now. We are casting Mordenkainen into an absolutely empty board. So we're going to make a dog. An 8/8 dog illusion. What an absurd token creation ability. Just casual, make an 8/8. Do it again next turn if you want. Opponent plays Clattering Skeletons, a 4/3 that ventures when it dies. They can be forgiven for playing a spell that is a bit embarrassing into Mordenkainen. Right? We get that. We understand. We're going to go to combat and attack with our dog. They block with their skeletons, which means they get to venture. Good for them. Any bets on which dungeon they're going to go for? The dungeon tickets. They are rolling. The Lost Mine of Phandelver. They scry 1. Alright. We're just going to make another dog. And we're going to play a Rime Shield Frost Giant. Our board is sick right now. A 2/3 that can untap things, and they quit. Yeah, I would too. I was going to say we have a 2/3 that can untap things, 2 6/6s threatening to be 8/8s or larger, and a 4/5 ward 3. They have no creatures on board. That's game. That is game. We have done it. My friends, we actually did it. We're 5 wins and 2 losses. This is amazing. We have made back the gems that we spent on this draft for the first time ever. We have won every single game. We have drawn Mordenkainen. Granted, one of them was much more than a struggle, or would have been if our opponent had a little bit more willpower. Let this be a lesson. I'm trying to be positive in this series. And I think it's a good thing to always stick with it as long as you can. Our opponent in the previous game, 2 games ago I suppose, they decided to throw in the towel, and they absolutely could have won. We have an opening hand. It has Mordenkainen. You know the rules. We're keeping it. It's not a great hand, has to be said. We have a Cleric class, Divine Smite, and a Potion of Healing, and 3 lands. But we have Mordenkainen. Opponent starts with a black mana and a Warlock class. A fine card. Warlock versus Cleric. Tale as old as time, rising in the east. Toss the pizza dough, there is so much more. Flour, water, yeast. Our opponent spent their turn leveling up their Warlock class, so they got a card, basically. That's A-okay. We're going to play Potion of Healing. Draw a card. Potion of Healing is not a very good card. It's good in the life gain deck. Speaking of, our opponent plays their own Steadfast Paladin 2/2 lifelink. That's all well and good. We really don't mind. Because we're going to play a Celestial Unicorn. 3/2. Gets bigger when we gain life. They might well attack us with their Paladin. Normally we would be happy to trade off, but this time we have life gain potential. Our Unicorn will outgrow their Paladin. They're not pressuring our life total so much that we want to trade immediately. Another rare played on us, White. This is WIGHT. A 3/2. When a creature dealt damage, by White this turn dies, they get a 2/2 zombie. Okay. Let's go ahead and gain some life. Make our Unicorn bigger. Play a Wizard class. And we have Divine Smite, so if they want to attack us with their White next turn, they are more than welcome to. We have 4 mana. We have 5 next turn. We are approaching the critical mass to cast our favorite pal in the multiverse, Mordenkainen. I guess he doesn't really exist in the multiverse, does he? So we Divine Smited. We killed the White. They played a Planar Ally, 5 mana, 3/3 flyer when it attacks Venture further into the dungeon. If only we had a way to gain life. We don't. It's a sad thing. That's fine, though. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to play Trickster's Talisman. I have not played this card yet. It's an equipment. It gives the equipped creature +1/+1, and when it does damage to a player, I can sacrifice it to make a copy. I'm going to go ahead and equip it to my Unicorn. Attack. Their only option is to let me go ahead and hit them or double block. They choose to double block. Ooh. Or do they? They instantly regret. Okay, so they went ahead and took it. So I can, if I want to, sacrifice the Trickster's Talisman at this point to make a copy. And I think I will. I'm really just trying to get to the point where I can cast Mordenkainen. The more creatures I can gum up the battlefield with, the better. Oh no. Our opponent cast Demogorgon's Clutches. It's basically a Mind Rot. 3 mana, target player discards 2 cards. I only had 2 cards in hand. I just lost Mordenkainen. Which is a secret little code word for I just lost the match. They attack me for 5. I go down to 15. Oof. This is trouble. I'm going to go ahead and draw some cards with my Wizard class. Take it up to level 2. That actually helps. So I drew some cards. I get a Cloister Gargoyle in 0/4. A Fine Blocker. I get to venture into the dungeon. I'm not even going to tell you which dungeon I'm going into. You know. You already know. You know what it is. And we're going to all attack. Yeah. Hit our opponent for 7. We're at 15, they're at 12. But we now have an 0/4 blocker in play. Just pretty spicy. Man, opponent plays the Pegasus 2/3 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, another creature gets +1/+1 in flying. So they're going to smack us right now. We're at 9. This is rough. This is rough nowadays. On their turn, they could hit us for 5 in the air. We're at 9. I'm going to go ahead and try to hit them. They just take it. We play Veteran Dungeoneer, which we drew this turn. We're going to get a Goblin token in the Goblin layer of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, because we need blockers. Lord knows. 9-8. This is tense. I'm trying to keep my chill, though, because as far as I'm concerned, we've already enjoyed absolute victory in this game. We have got our 5 wins against all odds. Opponent equips their planar ally with the Delver's Torch. So they're going to get another Venture, but more importantly, they're going to smack us for 6 in the air, probably. Nope, they just choose to attack with the ally. 4 damage to us. They complete the dungeon, which means they get to draw a card. Whew. And they play the +2/+2 mace. What a good finish for them. Now here's a good question. I can upgrade Cleric class to level 3. When I do, I return a creature card from my graveyard to the battlefield. Do I have anything worth its salt? I have exactly one creature. It's the Apprentice. Interesting. We're going to go ahead and attack with a 4/3 and a 3/4. Our opponent trades with the 4/3. They take 3 damage. We have 5, they have 8 life left. We have nothing better to do. Oh, I'm a fool. I haven't even leveled up the Cleric class once. So, that was all academic, wasn't it? Our opponent equips the Pegasus with the +2 mace. So we have a 4/4 flyer and a 4/5 flyer coming at us. Ooh, and very smartly, we're being hit for 4 in the air, no matter what we do. And they ventured into the Tomb of Annihilation. Each opponent loses 1 life. I am going to be taking 5 damage, which means we're dead. GG. Good game. Wow. I'm so impressed with the people I play against, and so disappointed in myself. I think people have figured this format out, and I just feel like I'm floundering. Absolutely. We called it Mordenkainen or bust. We won every single game that we got to draw Mordenkainen, except for the one where our opponent made us discard Mordenkainen. I wish that I had scripted this. It sounds like I did, but you know what? Progress. We are making good progress. Each time we've played, our decks have gotten a little bit better, and this has easily been our best deck and our best result so far. To the point where we actually came out in the positive. We're in the black, as they say. Well, thanks for coming along with me on this journey into the Forgotten Realms. I hope you'll join me in the future. If you do listen to this, I kind of imagine people listening to this very casually, just having it on in the background. If you are awake and aware and you're listening to this and you liked it, let me know. Send me a tweet. I'm at Wolfmere. Or you can tweet us at RedBlueMTG. I think this is fun. I try to make content that I personally would enjoy, and maybe this is completely egomaniacal, but I would like to listen to more of this. It's so nice to have on in the background. Just somebody talking about playing Magic. Just me? Just you and I? That's fine. See you next time.